Finally got back on track this morning. Did the Murrysville Monster 20K. Obviously down in Murrysville. It's put on by GCXC. It's the second time I've done this race. I did it a couple years ago, but it was called the Duff Hill Buster because it goes through like Duff Park and then some like Pleasant Valley or some other park. You sort of connect the two. Finished first overall in like an hour and 46 minutes. Not sure the exact time. I didn't get to really look at the results yet, but as I said, I finally got back on track today. Got in the winner's circle for the first time in like 2 months. It's pretty hot today. Probably high 70s when we started. Definitely humid. I know because I was sweating basically as soon as I got out of the vehicle, and I had my AC on the way down. Got it cranked up now. Wearing my Peregrines, my 2XU compression shorts. Had some calf sleeves on. Wore my shoe gaiters. Wet shirtless, but I took my naked waist pack. That was about it, besides a hat and MP3 player. I don't know, nothing too exciting. I carried some GU hydration today, which mixed it up a little bit from my noon caffeine because I think that's kicking my ass with too much caffeine during a race. Didn't really have any issues today, like health-wise. My heart rate was a little bit high. It came back down and went back up a few times. Probably because of the hills and like where we were at during the hills is probably the factor of that. It's hard to say. I still feel it's higher during a race than it should be by like 5-ish beats, 5 to 8 beats. Like the high 160s into the 170s. I didn't even look yet to see how high it got today, but I know a few times I looked and it was definitely in the high 160s, and I think I broke 170 at some point. So I just got to keep on that a little bit. It's a fun race. It sort of plays into my wheelhouse a little bit because it's not really overly staggering huge hills. It's more like quick up and downs and switchbacks and stuff like that. So I'm able to like push a little bit, recover, push a little bit, recover, whether I'm going up or down or the flat section, a little bit of flats. So I never really get tired per se. I didn't also push hard today, like a red line or complete race pace. It was pretty much a tempo the whole time. I didn't have nobody breathing down my back. So I ran a relaxed race and actually ran a race that I wanted to run. It felt comfortable running. With the heat and humidity, I'm still probably catching up a little bit from lack of training in it. So I'm still not 100% acclimated. So I'm glad I didn't have nobody like busting my ass where I had to really push today. I'm not saying I would have fell apart, but definitely got to run a lot more comfortable than I thought I was going to. So that was awesome. So you start out on the rail trail for like 7/10 of a mile. Then you turn into Duff Park. It's still not, it's a little rougher than rail trail, but it's still pretty smooth. You can pretty much call it rail trail for a couple more tenths before you actually hit some hills. And then right away you go up pretty good. There's also a 10K that breaks off at 2.5 miles into the race. There was somebody standing there. The flagging was pretty good. I know some people got lost today, but it's kind of hard to get lost if you're paying attention. But It happens, we all do that. So once we hit the rail trail, I looked back because I was talking to my buddy for the start of the race, and he was just going to run comfortably early on. So that's what he did. So he fell back early on, just running his own race, running comfortably. There was a woman with us on the rail trail, but they both, as soon as we started and actually hit the trail, like I took off a little bit, pushed the tempo, because I did use the rail trail actually as a warm-up. I didn't really warm up too much before the race because I knew we were going to hit the rail trail to start. So my plan was to fill out the competition on the rail trail and use it as an actual warm-up before I actually started pushing. So when I hit the trail, I turned it up a little bit and took off. I guess it was a little bit of single track, probably. I mean, you had to run single track, but you can get around people. It wasn't nothing exuberant where you couldn't get around people on it. But I just like gapped the field really quickly and took off. I just figured let those two behind that were right behind me block for me a little bit, you know, to slow everybody else down. So that was my thinking behind that. There was some switchbacks and stuff like that early on. I did feel my legs burning a little bit, but the pace I was pushing probably was expected. And then as I looked back and there was nobody behind me, I did relax a little bit, and that allowed my legs to, I guess, keep recharging the whole race. Plus, I actually wore my calf sleeves today, which was the first time in like 4 races that I didn't forget them. So that helped out a lot today. My legs definitely didn't get as tired or beat up. It's hard to really speak about the race itself, because like I said, there's really no too much distinctiveness. But the first couple miles are pretty much uphill. Not really too much down. I mean, there is some rollingness, but not too much direct down. But I know like 2 miles in, it was the first aid station. I grabbed some water and Gatorade. I think I took 2 cups at every aid station today of water and Gatorade. I drank, you know, obviously both Gatorade. I would drink one Gatorade, drink a water, drink another Gatorade, then take a sip again of water, and then dump the water on me just to keep my body a little bit cool and keep it moist and, you know, keeping that salt off. I don't want no salt building up today. So at like 2.5, when the 10K and the 20K split, you basically go uphill, I want to say for 3 or 4 tenths right away. And it's not super steep, but it's definitely leg burning incline. So I felt that I took it a little bit easier, but I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't just walking up that so people could catch up to me. That's what I was worried about most of the race, just relaxing too much and dicking around and then people catching up and then blowing the race because it got in my head. Luckily that didn't happen. But once we hit that hill, there was a quick little downhill, and then we made a right. There was a guy, when we first made that right, because we did this like loop out at this like Pleasant Park area, whatever it's called. He was standing there to make sure we went the right way instead of straight, which is straight would have been the way we came back on. I asked him, I was like, hey, can you tell me on the way back how much I have on second place at the time? And he was generous enough to do that. I think he said I had like 2.5 minutes from second place, which was that first place female when I came into there. And that was probably 3.5 into the race. I'd say probably pushing 3.5, because once we did that top hill, I guess there was a little bit of rollingness. You know, it's just like a bunch of like switchbacks. You head down, big windingness, and then like head back up, and we did that all through the park. There was a few, I want to say like power line type sections with like grass head height in some spots, and then some spots it was only like waist. What was nice about that section, or those sections in general, was there was still dew and stuff from the rains last night on the grass and the the plants, that it wasn't completely hot and humid in those sections. If it was dry, it would have like sucked the life out of you and the moisture out of the air, but since there was like still some dew and moisture on them, it was a lot nicer to run through theirs than it normally would. But they did hug the trail a little bit, so as I'm running, my legs did get a little bit wet, but it also helped keep me cool. There was six little creek crossings on like the far end of the 20K loop. Nothing really major, like wet wise. It was just basically like puddles. Even though they were creek crossings, the creeks really weren't high, so you just basically like splash through, basically enough to get your feet wet but not saturated. Like it just came over like your lugs and your the foam on your shoes, like into the mesh part. It's just enough to annoy you and get your feet wet, but not enough to completely saturate your feet. But your feet still got saturated enough where you felt it the rest of the race, like through your socks and whatnot. I felt good pretty much the whole race. Again, I was running the race that I wanted to, so I wasn't blasting my ass and killing myself. And I was really hitting those rollingness today. I was really feeling it on that type of shit, which was awesome. I'm trying to think what else to explain. Oh, parking lot for food. I wish I could tell you more. Just like everything just seemed to like blank out a little bit today when I was running. I mean, an hour and 42, I think it was like an 8:40 overall pace is what I maintained. Trying to think what else. I don't know. I guess I was just excited to be able to put a race together and come out on top. It's still not my best race. I'm not necessarily, I'm proud of my performance because I know I could have still done a hell of a lot better. I think my fat ass being out of shape still slowing my pace a lot, but it's getting better. I didn't overheat really too bad today. I think there was, yeah, about 1,800, between 1,800 and 1,900 feet of gain during the race. It's pretty decent for 12 miles. I think I got 12.1 on the 20K. The flagging was pretty good. There was a few spots that was kind of iffy because they used some green flagging on the ground, so it was kind of hard to see. But again, you really had to not pay attention to get lost. I know some people did because they went well, alright, I'll explain it like this. You were supposed to go clockwise, or counterclockwise the whole race. So you were making right turns the whole time, and if you made a left-hand turn, you were going the wrong way. And some people made what I'm presuming left-hand turns because that's the only way they got lost and did that backside loop backwards. I know one dude, I only ran into one dude about a half mile before the loop finishes and we head back. And I just told him just to keep running the loop because otherwise he was going to have to redo like 2 miles. And then as I came out of the loop, there was like 2 people heading out, but they might have saw me coming out of the one side and followed that in, which would have been wrong. But I didn't have any trouble with flagging. Maybe if I was getting pushed and went a little bit harder, I would have. But again, I had no trouble as long as I was paying attention. There was a lot of roots, so that's one of the reasons why I didn't push so hard today. Is I didn't feel like tripping, busting my ass open, getting hurt, twisting an ankle, all that fun shit. So I made sure to stay within my boundaries today when it came to pushing the pace, so I didn't fall on my ass and get hurt. Some of those roots really did stick up a couple inches, and some actually had space underneath them where you could really like hook a foot and get face planting forward. It's a nice, whatever parks we ran in through Duff and that Pleasant Park, they're nice parks, and the trails themselves are pretty beat down. They're not really muddy, except for maybe like a little mud puddle here and there, but that's spotty. But they're pretty much solid, even with the rain that we had yesterday, so you don't really have to worry about too much mud or anything like that. Even around the creek crossings, they're pretty smooth as well. I know the one thing I had to be careful of that I did a few times was, because it's also like a bike trail that we were on and people could use bikes, is some of the logs, you know how they like sort of angle them like up, like step them up so bikes can go over. I misjudged like how far on like the back side of the log it was going to be, so when I tried to jump over, I was like, oh shit, I got to make another foot or two with my lunge, and a couple of times I caught some more logs like on the back side, and I about fell a few times. So after like 2 or 3 times of doing that, I actually slowed down at those logs instead of just trying to jump over them because I didn't know what was on the back side. I didn't want to hit one of those logs and slip because they were slick. So I learned right away to be smart about that. Because after 2 or 3 times, it was like, boy, you're going to be a dumbass and hurt yourself doing this, and you're going to take yourself out of the race. So I was like, just be smart, slow down, and actually step over the logs and pay attention and not just try to like lunge. Because I'm telling you, some of those were actually like 3 feet on the back side, and you're not expecting it because the front side was only like, you know, not even a foot. So there's that. That was more so on the 20K course than the 10K. I don't think there's really anything like that on the 10K course. Yeah, I don't think. I know there was 2 more water stops on the 20K. Again, I took 2 waters, 2 Gatorades. But I wasn't really sure how long the race was going to be because I knew it was 20K, so that would have been like 12.4 miles. But I was thinking it was going to be short because I think last time it was only like 11.8 something in my head just rang. I knew it was not like a true 20K, but I was like, but you don't know how they marked it with the switchbacks. It probably is 12.4, but with switchbacks you never know how to judge because your watch is not going to pick up everything on a switchback. So there's that. So I was trying to guess. I was like, you know, 4 miles in, 5 miles in. I was like, all right, I got 8.5 miles to go. Hopefully just 6. when I start narrowing things down, but I was like really not sure, but I knew it wasn't going to be like 13 plus miles. So I think that's what I was basing it off of. Realistically, like every mile is like, all right, so if I hit 6, I was like, you got 7 miles to go. So I got into that mindset. At least I'm estimating more than short. Because, you know, if you have to turn it up and push harder, you don't want to adjust your pace for an extra mile when it's going to be a mile shorter because you might not run as fast. Stuff like that. But yeah, I pretty much blanked out. Otherwise, most of the 20K side of the course, because just the way I was flowing through things, running, you know, my mind and body just took over. I wasn't really listening to the music too much. Once in a while, like a song would come on, I'd hear a few seconds of it. And like right before I came off of the 20K course back onto the 10 to finish, I had to piss around with my MP3 player because the volume went down because the sweat on the touchscreen was making the volume just stay down. So I had to flip it around and piss with that for a minute. And then I had to fix the tongue on my shoe because it was digging into the top of my left foot. It was getting annoying. And once I hit the 10K course, I did get a little bit tired for about a half mile. That I recharged when I started seeing some people in front of me that were just, you know, like walking the 10K course. Like I started getting into that like hunt down people mindset. And it was nice to actually like see people ahead of me so I could use them as targets. So I just changed my mindset up a little bit. Did power walk one hill, but pretty much ran / jogged all the hills today. The only hill that I power walked was when there was like 4 people like in the middle of it. So I just power walked up that. But the rest I just ran. And then there was like the longer running sections. I would look back and I didn't see nobody, so I was like, alright, I'm guesstimating I have like a minute and a half at least lead. So I stayed in that relaxed mindset. And then the one big descent that we had, we'll say like 9.5 into the race, I really bombed that downhill, just flying, sticking my arms out, doing the airplane maneuvers, you know, side to side, adjusting for the turns, grabbing some trees, like swinging myself around the switchbacks. People were probably looking at me funny because I passed probably like 10 people in that downhill, just bombing them. But I felt good at the time, and I was like, use it while you have it. Yeah, right after the 4 aid stations, the one hill that I walked, because I just drank all that liquid, so I didn't want to like blow up my stomach and get sick. So I didn't want a red line going up until I actually like started to digest some of it. Then it flattened out and I just took off again. I ran pretty good on that little flat upper part. And then when we started back down the hill, we ran up the jump off of that Duff Park like rail trail area. Ran hard, and there was a dude out there. Oh yeah, there you go, looking good, like first. And then once I hit that Duff Park rail trail, I pretty much knew I had it in the bag because I figured, all right, you have like a mile left. As long as you don't do something stupid like cramp up or red line and blow up, you got this. But my watch was saying like 9 minutes at the time. I think it was just because of the tree cover. I'm like, there's no way it feels like I'm running like 9 minutes, but finally went down to like 7 when I actually hit like the rail trail and was finishing off. I did look back a couple times to see if anybody was coming at me, but the people who I were passing were 10Kers, obviously. So when I looked back, I was like, all right, there's nobody new behind them. So I knew I was good, and I came in the first, which was nice. Get that monkey off my back that I've had for like a month and a half now. So win number 195. 5 more to go before I can retire. I don't know, it was just a good race. It was a fun race. And it was one of those races where you just didn't have to like kill yourself and burn out. So that's why I enjoyed it a lot more. Because again, it like sort of played into my wheelhouse with the rolling hills today. I don't think the shape I'm in right now, like if there was some huge hill climbs, I probably would have burned up. Or really technical. It's not technical at all. So there's that. I just had to wait around like an hour and a half to the awards when I was done, because they were trying to get everybody in, or almost everybody, before they did them. I don't think it was like until 11:20 when they did awards for the 20K. So I finished at like a little under 10. So I was definitely there for like an hour. Should have just got it and left, but you know me, I always gotta wait for people. But I didn't have some nice conversations. Some dude dressed up as Sasquatch, because it's Murrysville Monster, and there was part of the medal had like a Sasquatch on it. So he had to be sweating balls, but got a gift card for Pro Bike and Run for like 25 bucks. So after the race, I actually brought all my Pro Bike and Run gift cards with me today. I had 120 bucks total, with like 6 gift cards that I had. So I bought some shoes and some new hydration to try out, because it was only like 10 minutes from the race, so I just jetted down there real quick. Yeah, I got some shoes. Other than that, I guess I had fun. Still feel good. See how I feel tonight. I might do a 5K if it's not raining. I guess I'm on the healing end of what I was going through. I just got to build my endurance up more and take it from there. And I was using this as like an Eastern States filler, so if I blew up today or had issues today, I was definitely going to call it Eastern States. So now Eastern States is like a 70% go, 30% no. Still got to give it another week to see how my endurance is, and go from there. But at least I'm coming around feeling good, so I guess that's that for now.